Guys, we got to talk about AI, and I'm going to be honest, I'm going to make a policy now. If any of you are doing fan art, if you do AI fan art, I'm just not going to go over it anymore. I used to, but seeing how just absolutely scary this shit's getting, I don't respect its use in artistic mediums. Not really. So, let's very quickly go over the fan art section, and then we'll get into the recent debacle with AI, because of course there's a recent debacle with AI. There's always going to be one. But let's start out with this from Annie. Super rushed Lil design, clipped off the ears just because I couldn't get them to work. And just so, like, if you're putting ears in hoods, just put the ears behind the hood perpetually, like a mascot. It'll always work. We'll just always assume it's coming through any of the holes of the hood. But thank you very much for the fan art, Annie. I greatly appreciate it. It looks cute as hell. I love how it almost looks like there's a super serious expression happening here because of the bangs of the hair. But, you know, this one looks great. Let's go ahead and get into the content, though. If y'all have fan art and you want to showcase it, just toss it in the Discord. There's a fan art section there. There's an NSFW one as well that weird people go to. I don't know why there's so much stuff in there. Anywho, so the most recent AI debacle we got to cover is Sawara. So OpenAI has just announced that they have a new text-to-video model. It can create up to 60 seconds of footage featuring highly detailed scenes, complex camera motion, and multiple characters with vibrant emotions. So this is the stuff that's kind of scary, because deepfaking was already kind of scary. But take a look at this video here. The only stuff that's weird, right? We're gonna showcase some of the stuff that's weird in the video, but at first glance, everything looks really good, right? Well, let's start out. Everybody's moving at a really weird pace. And this person here, like, it seems to be struggling a lot with perspective. So this person here looks like she's about to run directly into this. I don't even know what this is. A braceway? This right here should be when her arm impacts it, but it doesn't. And the AI doesn't seem to know if she's under it or above it. The AI cannot tell. Its ability to do perspective is really, really shaky at the moment. But it is still... Oh, they were supposed to be the tops of stalls. So, if you look, this road here is completely flat in the perspective shot, and yet it looks like they're walking down a staircase. They are currently above the stalls, and now they are below... They look like they're worse than they're supposed to be now. The perspective is really, really weird. So, like, it is impressive as hell that the technology works at all to generate this stuff, but there's already some really, really weird, funky stuff going on. They also have just a series of things where they go like, here's our prompt, here's what we got. So we've got, you know, woolly mammoths approaching, treading through a snowy meadow. And when it's something like this, where there's fewer moving parts, it looks like it's a lot easier for the AI to figure out what exactly it's trying to do. Also, Jesus Christ, Naki Bree, thank you very much for the $20. I hugely appreciate it. But also, why? I didn't do anything that deserves $20. I'm just kind of here talking about AI being weird. Also, M Differs, thank you for the drink. You said stop. Wait, what did stop say? I will state again, next person to donate over $20 will force me to rush draw a Suris NFW in 30 minutes. Why do so many of you want porn of me? Why? Why? What is wrong with you guys? Jesus, we're just looking at weird AI shit. What is... Okay, so this prompt is supposed to be a movie trailer featuring an adventurer that's a 30-year-old spaceman wearing a red wool knitted motorcycle helmet. Very specific, and it seems to be doing okay there, but there's a lot of focus on just the guy staring at us, the guy staring at things. The next prompt they have is a gorgeously rendered papercraft world of coral and reef rife with colorful stuff. And, I mean, it looks nice, except that every few seconds, it just gets really, really blurry and really fucky. But as a proof of concept, I guess it's okay. Just the terrifying thing for me, though, is, like, boomers that already have fairly awkwardly bad vision looking at this stuff going, oh, yep, that looks about right. That's a real demon right there. Again, the AI doesn't seem to know if he's in front of or behind the candle. It really struggles. It really struggles with that. It has issues. So I'm, again, a little terrified of where this can end up going, because, let's be honest, we make fun of AI all the time. We do. We make fun of its inability to draw hands. We make fun of its inability to do perspective. We make fun of its inability to do things all the time. But what happens when it's not the case, right? That technology is going to continue to improve year over year over year. It's going to get twice as good every year as it was the previous year. So how terrifying is it going to be when somebody's going to be able to do very convincing AI porn? Oh, wait, we already had that happen with Taylor Swift. That's already happened. How do we live in a society that has AI and racism at the same time? Good question. This article kept popping up during the AI debacle. Like, anytime you scrolled through this article would pop up over and over and over again. So we're going to actually take a look at this article and see what's here. It said, tech bros aren't always known for their sensitivity. In a recent report to the New Yorker, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman compared his vision of AGI, artificial generative intelligence, to a median human. He said, for me, AGI is the equivalent of a median human that you could hire as a coworker. It's not the first time Altman has referred to a median human. In 2022, on a podcast, he said AI could do anything that you'd be happy with a remote coworker doing just behind a computer, which includes learning how to go to a doctor, learning how to go be a very competent doctor. Altman's company happens to be one of the current frontrunners in achieving AGI. Although a disputed term, artificial generative intelligence, has been defined as an AI model that surpasses average human intelligence or can achieve complex human capabilities like common sense or consciousness. Well, so at least the common sense makes sense, because common sense is just all of the predispositions you have growing up. Like, it's literally just the things that you think in the forefront of your mind, not actually knowledge. Like, common sense isn't knowledge. Common sense is just whatever preconceptions you have about everything lumped into a giant book. And of course, AI could do that pretty easily in how it's built right now. Also, unlike human beings, AI has instantaneous access to all the knowledge of the internet, whereas we have to use a tool to get that. AI just is on the internet, so it's already got those tools. It also knows how to scan through articles faster than we do. So yeah, it makes sense that people would say this. Now, it's terrifying that they would say this, because can you imagine a world, right, where we already had to move so many people from factory positions into, you know, technologically savvy positions, even the people who didn't have the ability to move in those positions in the first place? We have enough people who already had to do that as factories become more streamlined, and now those people are going to be losing their jobs anyway. Like, just thousands of jobs across America are going to be taken away as this stuff goes. And as we start, like, 3D printing houses and stuff like that, we're also going to start losing some of the contracting and construction jobs that we used to have from there. The amount of actual human manpower that we used to need for several of these jobs slowly goes away. And you'd think that would be a good thing. And I would like that to be a good thing. I want to be one of those people that sits in the back and goes, yeah, let technology make our lives better. That would be amazing. And then what's actually happening is CEOs are using it as a way to cut corners on their businesses so that they don't have to hire as many people, which means there's less money flowing out to the general populace because business owners are not paying as many workers. And then there's less money going through the economy, and then suddenly they have to charge more for individual things because fewer people have money they're able to buy on, you know, luxury items. And then we get to this weird point where nobody can afford anything really, and nobody's getting paid in the first fucking place. This is the reason why I advocate for UBI. We are rapidly approaching the time where people are going to need some way to sustain themselves in our... We're not even in a fully post-scarcity society yet. But several of the things that used to be considered scarce are just aren't. Housing ain't scarce. People... We don't have as many people as we have fucking houses in the United States. At least, especially if people are living in family homes. We don't have food scarcity in the United States, and yet somehow people still go hungry. People are still homeless. We theoretically don't have job scarcity, except it's a write-off to pretend that you have job scarcity. So, I don't know what to say here anymore. Like, the world is approaching a very scary precedent where people are not as required to do things that people are needed to do. Cashiers get replaced with kiosks. Your fucking therapist gets replaced with an AI chatbot. Some companies have tried making girlfriends out of AI, so now we have fewer people producing offspring, which means that we have less money going into Social Security, and now old people don't have money for their Social Security, and then there's not going to be anything there for anybody going up. Like, it just... All the systems that make up our society have not caught up to the technology that is currently being blasted into our society at a rapid pace. And it's terrifying. It is absolutely terrifying. Business Insider also goes on to say that comparing AI to even the idea of a median or average human is a bit offensive, said Britt Miltstadt, director of research at Oxford Institute. He said, I see the comparison as being concerning and see the terminology as being concerning too. It's interesting to use the term median human. That's importantly different from average human, Henry Shelvin said. He's an AI ethicist and a professor at the University of Cambridge. He said it makes the quote sound more icky. So there's an argument for thinking that Sam Altman could be more sensitive around this stuff. Sensitivity is not what I would say. I would say less fucking stupid. Shelvin said the profile wasn't intended to be a scientific paper, and some level of quantification was needed in the context field. One thing that current AI architectures and models have shown is that they achieve basically typical human-level performance. That's not problematic in and of itself. I feel when we get things like intelligence, people are more touchy, and there are some good reasons for that. One reason is that the practice of trying to quantify intelligence has been marred by scientific racism, although, Shelvin added, it's not inherently problematic in and of itself. Tech bros, however, are defining this idea of median human intellect is open to question. Middlestat said the link was rarely backed up in terms of concrete, measurable comparison of human intelligence. He said that it is intentionally as vague a concept as possible as compared to having a very specific grounded meaning. There's all these different benchmarks that are used to evaluate the performance of language models or AGI. They might be referring to IQ, for example, but then there's all sorts of problems with that. The bell curve is bullshit, everybody, just so you know. Traditional measurements for comparing AI and human intelligence have tended to focus on capabilities rather than general intellect. A lot of the classic benchmarks have involved things like the ability to play chess, or the ability to produce good code, or the ability to pass as a human. Comparing AI with human intelligence at all can be ethically murky and potentially misleading. The problem is that you're directly equating the performance of these systems with human capabilities or with human intelligence. That is a hugely problematic leap to make because all of a sudden you're assigning agency, comprehension, cognition, or reasoning to these mechanistic models. And that part is true. So AI is a tool. It is ultimately a tool that will only ever be as evil as the people who use it and the intent behind it. But despite it being a tool, there are plenty of people who want to use it to replace other people. And that, again, we do not have an economy right now that can subsist off of everybody losing their jobs immediately. That's not a thing that we are currently equipped to do. We cannot stop AI from existing. We cannot stop it from progressing forward, and we cannot stop future generations from being born into a world where AI is so normalized that they will not see the ethical problems that we currently see on the horizon. Which means our goals don't need to be to over-legislate AI so much as they need to be to put the legislatives in place in such a way that AI cannot harm people, and we need to be focusing more of our judicial power, more of our lawmaking power on ways to get money in the hands of people so that they will be able to survive when their job is inevitably taken away by the Robo Cocksucker 9000. Jassa says, if we leave the AI not being seen as an ethical thing, ick. Yeah, no, that's what's going to happen. You and I right now see jobs being taken away by automation. You and I right now see the problems with over-automating certain industries. You and I right now see the problems with replacing direct human interaction with AI. There are people, however, that want us to live in the metaverse. There are people who want us to replace everything from our therapists to our cashiers with AI models. They want to create a world where robots are doing all of the work, which would be fine if that would leave anything for the basic human beings to do. There was a time during the Great Depression where there was such a small amount of work to go around for people that oftentimes people had to leave their homes just to go look around for work they could do for 6 to 8 hours during the day, and then come home, and half the time they wouldn't have found any work. And they would go find anything, work over at the docks, construction work, plumbing work, anything they could find. It was a horrible time to be alive, because people could not get money into their hands so that they could subsist. We are hitting that point again, where more people are going to be losing their jobs to fucking generative models. Robbie says they floated the idea of replacing teachers with AI. Good luck with that. Yeah, except give it about 30 or 40 years and that idea is going to seem a whole lot more attractive. That's the way this is going to be for all industries. The AI generation of art is going to be seen as more normalized in 40 years. The AI replacement in media spaces is going to be seen as more normalized in multiple years. Again, about 30, 40 years. I understand that it seems like a laughable concept right now. But 40 years from now, it won't be. 40 years from now, having a bunch of robots doing the manual labor to construct a house is not going to be seen as a weird thing. Having a bunch of robots running around diagnosing all your medical conditions, diagnosing what is going on with your plumbing, that's not going to be a weird thing. That's not going to be a new concept. It's going to be an old concept with tried and true models at that point. I'm not trying to raise an alarm. I'm trying to let everybody know that, hey, this is ultimately what's going to happen over time. We need to be trying to focus more of our power on making sure that people in the here and now and going forward can be taken care of legislatively, as opposed to just bigwigs that already have things like generational wealth to fall back on. There's this fun thing. There's this fun thing that happened with human intelligence over the last 20 years. Our ability to retain knowledge decreased. Our capacity for attempting to multitask increased. It's almost like we got suddenly more people with ADHD. And our ability to remember how to find information increased. It used to be that you had to hip fire most things. You had to remember what most things were, and then you would look in something like an almanac or an encyclopedia if you really wanted to learn something that was outside of your normal purview. Now you've got all the information you could ever want on your phone. You click a button, you suddenly have it in your head. But because it's so easy to do that, the need to actually retain that information has kind of slowly disappeared. You now only need to look into your phone to learn what you need to learn for repairing your car real quick, and then it's over. I couldn't tell you how to repair the axle of a car. I can tell you that I did it. I can tell you that I used a sliding hammer, but I can't tell you the actual mechanics involved because I never learned the skill. I just copied what was there on YouTube, which was perfectly reasonable for getting my car back up and running, but it certainly didn't mean I learned a damn thing, and that's kind of a thing that's been happening with people for a while. Jasta says, is that necessarily a bad thing? Yes. as we become overly reliant on this kind of tech, as we become overly reliant on this ability to look everything up, human beings don't become reservoirs of knowledge anymore. All that knowledge is stored away from people and in a place where it can be very easily manipulated. Is it necessarily a bad thing that I couldn't tell you how to do something, but I can look it up? Not in and of itself. But when that's the trend for all information going forward, yeah, that is kind of an issue. But with that said, that's as far as I can get on this one. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Not really looking forward to the future sometimes. Insert end video tagline here. Hey, I just quickly want to give a thank you to all of my wonderful patrons who keep this show running. YouTube and Twitch are a pretty bumpy ride at the best of times, and the stability a Patreon provides me is worth more than I can say here. I'd also like to thank each and every one of my $20 and up patrons here, and they would be Red Joker, Britzkrieg, Cameron, Dren, Jemshin, Smiling DM, Poundini, Mabbity Babbity, Naomi, Isaac, Nixie-chan, the Oberon team, Agamotto, Jordan, Ravi, Giuni, Kiratorian, Prisma, all of you, I'm not saying that part, and Starlight. And finally, thank you to everyone else that helps keep this channel alive. While you're here, why not check out another video? And thank you for watching.